So with this question, you're given an equation and asked what's wrong with this equation. So what is wrong here? So we're given the integration, we're integrating the secant squared x dx between 0 and pi, and we're told that that's equal to tan x, which between 0 and pi should give us 0. So if we try this out, we'd actually see that it's correct because the integral of secant squared x is tangent x. The tangent of pi is 0, and the tangent of 0 is 0, so we have 0 minus 0, which is 0. So that's a correct answer. So what's wrong with this question? We have to look at maybe what's going on with the underlying assumptions in this question. So the underlying assumptions when you're integrating is that the function itself is non-negative. So it's non-negative. And that it's continuous. If we were to graph secant squared x dx, we would see that at pi over 2, we have an asymptote. So I'm going to say we have 0, we have pi, and I'll put pi over 2 right in the center here. So don't forget that secant is the same as 1 over the cosine. So secant squared x is the same as 1 over cosine squared x. And when we plug in these values, the cosine of 0 is 1. So 1 squared is 1, so that means we have a value here. But the cosine of pi over 2 is 0, which means we would have 1 over 0. And that's undefined, which means we have an asymptote at pi over 2. And this also tells us that our function is not continuous because our graph will not be able to cross that asymptote. So to answer the question of what's wrong with this particular equation, it is not continuous over the span of our limits of integration between 0 and pi.